Hey there guys, and welcome to FP1 and welcome back to the Post Podium Podcast of the Belgian Grand Prix. If you don't know what this series is, basically it's a 15-20 minute waffling session about the Grand Prix, and it could be difficult to get this one to 15-20 minutes. Not the most exciting of races, it must be said, but still a few things to talk about, still quite a poignant weekend given what happened 1 year ago, and like I said, I think it's just, I think we need to start, with those tributes to Antoine Hubert. And how brilliant that message was really put across over the entirety of the weekend, and of course our thoughts going out to his family on, I'm sure, was quite a difficult time. But today I'm absolutely delighted to be joined by Keira Megan from Keira Megan F1. Keira, how are you to begin with? How did you find the race?
Hiya, thank you for having me. The race was okay. It wasn't amazing, but to be fair, there was a lot of midfield battles going on. I think Checo and Gasly and even Ricciardo, they all kind of gave us a little bit more excitement than we probably would have had. So it was okay. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. Yeah,
I think I agree. It was I don't think it was as bad as Spain. I've seen a lot of people go out saying, it was worse than Spain, worst race of the year. No. I don't think it was that bad. We got overtaking in this one. I think last year there was a stat that went up at the beginning of the race that said, in 2019 it was the race that had the most overtakes in it. We still got quite a lot of overtaking, going up past through Eau Rouge, some brilliant overtakes. Pierre Gasly, I think, is a great place to start today because he was just on fire. Basically the entire weekend. Again, going back to what I said at the beginning, it's a very difficult weekend for him, and he pulled it out the bag. And some of those moves, the one on Perez around the outside of Eau Rouge was just something else. Quite scary to watch. I think Perez was a little bit, on edge with the way he squeezed into the wall, a bit like he did to Ocon a couple of years ago. But what do you take from Pierre Gasly's weekend? Because, I think he absolutely smashed it today.
Yeah, well, first I'll talk about that overtake, because when I first saw it, we didn't get that onboard camera angle. So when I first saw it, I was like, wow, that's an amazing overtake. And then when we saw Ant and Pierre look at it on the Skypad, you did not realise how close it was. I have never ever seen something so close in my life. It was ridiculous. It did give me throwbacks for 2018 when he used to do that. Well, not when he used to do it with Ocon, when he did do it with Ocon. It's very worrying actually to think Checo would still do that, because especially how fast it is going up Eau Rouge and Rally On. But overall, Pierre's weekend, absolutely amazing. He is on fire in that Alpha Tauri. He's completely dominating Daniel Kvyat. He just seems so much more comfortable in that car. He seems so much more relaxed. He can just go out there and perform, and I love it. It's amazing to see.
Yeah, agreed. I think Kvyat had a better weekend as well. Didn't quite get into the points, but out-qualified Gasly for the first time in, I want to say, 10 races or something. So, good on him. You've got to give him that. But Gasly, he's just on fire at the moment. I guess, diverting from the weekend a little bit, because we've got a kind of waffle to fill in this time gap. But where do you see Gasly going from here? Because I think I mentioned in my video yesterday, Renault could be an option in a couple of years' time. If they get fed up with Ocon, they want another French driver. Gasly's a very good bet there. But could we see him go back to Red Bull?
I wouldn't like to see him go back to Red Bull. I really wouldn't. I don't think it's very good for him. And, I don't think Red Bull's a good place for anybody apart from Max Verstappen. So I really wouldn't like to see him go there. Renault, I'm not too sure. It depends on how much power Esteban is going to have in that team, because I don't think Esteban would want Pierre there. We know that they don't get along anymore. And for me as well, I would not like Renault to pick up anybody that isn't in their driver academy, because we already know there is that little bit of tension there because they've signed Fernando for a couple of years. So I wouldn't like to see him go to Renault. I'd actually love to see him go to Mercedes. I think Mercedes are targeting more of their, if you look at their driver program, they're all in karting. I think their oldest is 16. So they are targeting the future. So I think in that middle gap, I think it would be great to see Pierre up in that Mercedes, maybe when Lewis retires or Valtteri goes away or whatever. It could be it might be good. This is maybe just what I'm hoping, but I would like to see George Russell and Pierre Gasly in Mercedes in the next 3 years or so.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way, because George eventually is going to end up in that Mercedes. I think it's pretty much a given now. We said that Ocon and Verline, so who knows? But I feel like George is that one who's going to get into that car. And, Lewis and Valtteri, they're both not going to stick around forever. Valtteri, I feel, has one more year left, although we've been saying that for the last God knows how many years now.
Yeah.
But, Lewis as well, he's going to retire at some point. There's not many years left, I think. And there is going to be a bit of an interim period, I think, where they haven't got any Mercedes Juniors to put in that car. and they've got George doing well as a top driver. For me, I think it's either Gasly or Lando Norris, who had a pretty good weekend as well. He was charging through the field at the end, finished just behind Albon, I think, in the end, in P7. Was it P7 or P6? P7.
I think so, something like that.
Yeah. So, but Albon's another driver I want to talk about, because it didn't look great from the outside, but again, you've got to look at his strategy. And Red Bull did to him exactly what they did in Spain, and they basically used him as a bit of a guinea pig this weekend. And he seemed happier this weekend, though. You've got to give him that. He did seem a lot chirpier, a lot more positive than he has been in recent races. But I do really feel for Alex, because there's something good on there. He's not being treated particularly well at Red Bull whatsoever. What did you take away from his weekend?
I can't believe the strategy thing again. When I saw they put him on mediums, I just thought, what on earth are you doing? It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm pretty sure I must have heard an interview. I must have heard somebody say something. I don't know if it's Christian or Alex or somebody said, they aren't going to do that again. Like, they aren't going to treat him like a guinea pig again. And then they've done it again. I don't understand what they gain from it. I don't understand where the benefit is for them, because it's losing them points in the constructors. I really don't understand it. I mean, everyone's saying, oh, Alex isn't good enough for the Red Bull seat, Alex isn't this, blah, blah, blah. But it's, they're not giving him the opportunity. Yes, I know he's not as fast as Max, but that's because the car is designed for Max. If the car was more of a neutral car, or maybe more like the AlphaTauri, I think they would be pretty much level. So it's really difficult for Alex. He's on the back foot as it is. But I think overall he done the best he could this weekend. I don't think there's any more he really could have done. It's difficult. I think he's struggling. I knew he was going to struggle. I knew as soon as they replaced Pierre with Alex, I knew he was going to struggle. It was all amazing at the time. All Alex has came back up. What a comeback story from when he was, pretty much being booted out of Formula 2 to go to Formula E. But I knew this was going to happen, and here we are. So he doesn't look... I mean, he did look happier. He had a better weekend, but it's nowhere near where he wants to be, and that's for sure. Yeah,
no, agreed. And I think... I don't know. Alex is such a strange one. I mean, with you look at it from Red Bull's perspective, they're not going to be winning the Constructors' Championship this year. There's no way that's going to happen. Mercedes are miles more consistent than anybody else. And at the same time, there's no challenge from Ferrari or Racing Point at the moment. Racing Point, a bit of a quiet weekend, and it's starting to look like they've kind of hit the plateau with that car. They can't really develop it much more, and everyone's catching up to them. So I guess from Red Bull's point of view, what's the best you can get out of this season? Well, it's going to be a few wins for Max Verstappen, since he's the only one at the moment that can really challenge the Mercedes cars. And maybe that's what they're doing to Albon. How is that fair? No. From a team's perspective, does it make sense? To a degree, but I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think it's just wrong. But at the same time, it's what Red Bull have done in the past. We saw with Pierre as well. He was treated as the clear second driver. That's part of the reason why Danny Rick left, because he was starting to see that, Max is the way forward with this team, and there's no place for anybody else. Now, Danny Rick's another driver I want to talk about. As a big Daniel Ricciardo fan, I was very happy this weekend. P4 in qualifying, P4 in the race, still unbeatable. He's going to be getting scared about that tattoo, I think, at this rate. And you know what? If you ask me, there should be a big tattoo on his forehead saying, "I lost Daniel Ricciardo to McLaren." I think that would top it off. But I think Cyril gets to choose the placement of it, so unfortunately I can't see it happening. But what did you take away from Renault's weekend? Because it was a very, very positive one.
Yeah, it was really good, really strong. It's nice to see Renault back up there. That's where they should be. That's where they were a couple of years ago. So it's really nice to see them back up there and to hold it as well. I was very worried when I saw them qualify quite high, especially Daniel in P4. I was worried that he would slip back down. Maybe Alex would come up, one of the Racing Points would come up, but actually they didn't. They held on really well. I was really pleased. They did need some points on the board. Obviously now it's made it even tighter in that midfield battle for the constructors, which is very exciting. But yeah, I mean, overall, they didn't put a foot wrong, did they? Just an amazing, solid weekend, and I'm really happy for both of the drivers because they really did deserve it. Yeah, no, agreed. And I think you make a good point. That fight for fourth, it's no longer between Renault and McLaren anymore. You got Racing Point in there. Ferrari, strangely enough, are in that fight, and that's a win. And that's could it actually be a fight for P3 this year? With the way things are looking, and if Racing Point do get, well, they've also been docked 15 points already. If they could get docked more, and they can't make those points up, this could be a very big year for the championship and a very big opportunity for a team like McLaren or Renault to get up there, and especially as a team that we worried might fall off the grid
only a few months ago. Yes, they've signed the Concord agreement now, but this is going to be a big boost for them and their board of directors as well. If they're seeing the team doing well, and with Monza coming next, you think Monza's not a great circuit for that team, but look back to last year, they had their best result of 2019 at Monza, and we'll get some predictions for next weekend in a minute, but I would not be surprised to see a Renault podium or a Renault in the top 3 in qualifying next weekend.
Yeah, same. Yeah, no, I actually made some predictions in my race review earlier today, and I said that we could see Daniel Ricciardo up there. I don't quite think Esteban has the edge. I don't think he is quite as strong, quite as confident as Daniel, so I think Daniel could definitely, especially in qualifying, maybe the race, I don't know how good their race pace is going to be compared to a Red Bull, but I definitely think that in qualifying we could see Daniel Ricciardo like P3 or something like that, especially with the engine modes being cut. We're not allowed to do any of that funny party mode stuff anymore. So that's going to make things very interesting and hopefully going to make things a little bit closer.
Exactly. You made a good point about the party modes. I've forgotten about that. And yeah, Renault, one of those teams, I think, especially going back from when they were with Red Bull was complaining the fact that Renault didn't really have this party mode available to them, and that's why they were so poor in qualifying. This, I think, is going to benefit Renault the most, and I really do think we're going to see them right up there at the top of the midfield for possibly the rest of the season now, which is very, very exciting, and it's good to see another team up there. Whether they'll be able to take the fight to Red Bull and Mercedes, probably not. But
No.
I mean, it'd be nice to see. I think what we need is just go down to turn 1, just Lewis and Valtteri just to nudge each other off the track a little bit. Yeah. Verstappen to kind of pick up the pieces, but then lose, have a mechanical failure. Danny Rick takes the win. Yes, please. I'd be very happy with that.
Same.
But yeah, we talked about the teams that are doing well. Now let's look at Ferrari. I mean, what can we say with Ferrari at the moment? It's just from one nightmare to another, and Binotto is going to be looking behind his back at this point because that team this weekend were nowhere. P20 for Sebastian Vettel in FP3. What is going on?
I can't believe it. I really can't. I mean, when they were like at the start of the season, when they were like midfield, maybe like P8, P9, I was like, okay, I can see they're falling back, but it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not like they're Haas-Williams level, but now they are Haas-Williams level. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe they were that bad in Spa, considering but last year they were like 1-2 in every session. Charles won the race, first Formula 1 win. I cannot believe it. To see like Alfa Romeos, Haas's, even Williams just glide past these Ferraris on the straight is mind-boggling. It's absolutely crazy. I physically cannot believe this is happening. And yeah, I mean, Binotto needs to... I don't think... Ferrari have this issue where if they see that something's going wrong, they just quickly fire the manager. I don't think that's what needs to happen personally. I know a lot of people have been shouting for Mattia to be fired and just got out of the way, shot out, whatever. I think he now needs to be like, right, I need to pick up these pieces and we need to build and structure this team to win. And this is where Ferrari need to change. I think they need more people on board. I think a couple of weeks ago, Sky were talking about the fact that they don't have proper leaders in like technical roles and things like that. I don't think it's quite as structured as say Mercedes, McLaren, etc. So I think the team needs to really sit down, structure everything, think about it properly and get back up and running. But I don't think just firing Mattia and putting someone else in is going to work, because historically they keep doing this and it's not working. So something needs to change in that sense. And I mean, hopefully 2022 they can come back up, but next year I don't see it happening at all.
Yeah, we saw when Kimi Räikkönen passed Sebastian Vettel in the Alpha. There's the video, if you haven't seen it, of him just laughing, absolutely pissing himself in tears, laughing. And you don't see that much emotion from Kimi Räikkönen normally, so I think that's why it's crazy with it coming from him. But the fact, he was effectively booted out of that team, and here he is passing his old teammate on pace. It's not good for Ferrari whatsoever. But let's move on then to predictions for next weekend. So, okay, what I'll ask you to do for me is just give me a top 3 for the race, and then the bold prediction for Monza.
Okay, so I've got to remember what I said, because if not, I'm going to keep going different places and saying different things. But I'm pretty sure I said, and what I think is going to happen is, I think Lewis is going to win. I think P2 is either, if something doesn't happen to Valtteri, it's going to be Valtteri. Or I'd like to see Max Verstappen, he might come up there getting a P2. And P3, I'm just hoping it's going to be Daniel Ricciardo. I really hope it's going to be Daniel, so I'm going to put Daniel up there. As something bold... It's not that bold. I just want Pierre Gasly up there, maybe like P4. I know, I just feel like he can do something even better. He can build on this weekend and go even stronger. So it's not that bold, but I'm fed up of doing bold things because it just doesn't happen. I'm just fed up of it. But Pierre Gasly, I just want to see him up there, like fighting for a podium again. That would be amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna match you on the on the podium predictions because I think I've said that I was on the purple sector yesterday, even talking about Lewis P1 pretty much, Valtteri P2. I mean, that's not particularly shocking, but I think Danny Rick, this is his best chance of the season to get a P3. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen at Monza, because I think they're going to struggle at Mugello. Monza's going to be, I think, their best opportunity now. Maybe even their last one. We'll have to wait and see on that one, I think. But, yeah. Actually, that said, Bahrain's a good track for them as well, so we'll see how that goes. But for my bold prediction, and maybe it's not too bold anymore, but I'm going to say Ferrari out in Q1. I mean, we nearly saw it this weekend.
That's not bold. That's going to happen.
as strange as that is to say, I think it could happen. And around Monza, on their 1,000th race as well, it's not great for them really at the moment, is it? And you've got to wonder what's going on. What has happened between, apart from the fact that their engine's now legal, but what has happened between this year and last year? Yeah, it's just ridiculous, isn't it? But Keira, before we do end things off, one thing that I should have asked at the beginning, but do you want to tell us a little bit about what you do over on your channel? Because, just crossed 3,000 subscribers, so well done on that one.
Yes, thank you very much. Yeah, so my name's Keira Megan. I am on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram under the same handle, and I make Formula 1 content. I don't do anything too heavy. I don't really do podcasts because I would waffle for way too long. So I decided to go on other people's podcasts and ruin them instead. No, I'm really joking. So I just do videos on Formula 1, Formula 2, Formula 3 and Formula E. I like to shed a lot more light on the junior categories. So I do a lot of videos over on that. I do funny videos like tier lists. I do videos on who should be in Formula 1, I do fact files, I do just kind of light-hearted videos like that. So if you are interested in seeing something like that, then I'm sure Will will have my link in his description. If not, just search Keira Megan F1 or Keira Megan on YouTube and I will come up.
Nah, the links I'll go in the description of this video. I can't be bothered, to be honest.
Right.
No, I'm joking. All links that will be down in the description below. So do make sure you go check out Keira and subscribe to her channel as well if you haven't already. But thank you so much for coming on. Let me know down below in the comments what your predictions are for Monza and what you thought of the race. Was it really as boring as Spain? Was it worse than Spain? Or do you think it was a little bit better? Let me know down there and we'll get a conversation going. But thank you so much for watching, guys. Have a lovely rest of your week and I will catch you all in the next one.